Welcome to my podcast. This is Mary Turderoff, and you are listening to Jump In with Mary. Okay, cameras are on, lights are on, mic is on. We are ready to roll. Today, I want to introduce listeners to a very unique woman. She is the queen of all trades. She has lived many, many lives, but the most important one she's living is the one right now. She is a fierce, committed mother, an amazing wife, a powerhouse entrepreneur, and for me, she is a darn freaking loyal friend. And on that note, I want to say that it is our 10-year friend anniversary.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, girl, a freaking decade. And for that reason, I'm pulling up a rainbow, very flashy cake. I have to stay close to the mic, Ani, so I'm lighting a candle.
I love you. It actually matches you and our personality and our friendship.
It sure does. Our friendship is colorful, energetic, fun, but mostly loyal. So yes. I love you. Happy anniversary. We'll go on a honeymoon later. Okay, I'm going to blow it out for both of us. All right. Okay.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
Of course, I love you, girl. Let me put this cake to the side. And let's get this party started.
Yes. Are we getting real with Mary?
We're getting so freaking real with Mary and Ani. And I just realized, did I say your whole name? No. Sitting in front of me is Miss Ani Keshishyan. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
So I want to start with the type of friendship and where we met 10 years ago. There was a lot going on. I forgot to mention, also an amazing daughter. And in the beginning, we were getting to know each other. And I remember a very specific memory. I had a big birthday party blowout. And this is before I had kids. So I had no concept of what your life was like. You already had kids and you had a very sick father and you were caring for him. You did something that most people won't do. You actually moved him in for his end of life to care for him. And I didn't, as a friend, I knew, I knew you had a lot going on, and you still showed up. You showed up to my birthday, and it really touched my heart. And I'm actually getting goosebumps for people who are watching this on YouTube. You can see my goosebumps. You showed up. You came for an hour or two, but you came with intention. You weren't there to party. You knew it was a party. You freaking showed up. And I don't know, that really moved me. I don't know if you remember that, but it really moved me. And you were going through a crisis and no one would have known. I want to talk a little bit about that because I have had a mom who had an ailing mom, had to deal with it. And how did you get through that time? Does it feel like it's another life that you lived eons ago?
I wish I could say it gets better. It does get a bit easier. Before I answer the question, I want to first congratulate you. I want to tell you that you're amazing.
Oh, I love you.
You're like that magnet that if anyone meets or is like towards you, they're not going to leave your side. So part of me being on that journey, part of me coming to your birthday, it was you. Your energy, your synergy, just the glow in your eyes and the love that you bring to the table and just with everyone around you. I hope you know that.
I love you.
So going back to that story, you can't do it alone, Mary Jo. You can't take credit. I can't take full credit for this. I have to really go back to my partner, my husband, my best friend. He made most of it possible and easy to navigate. I think when you're married, especially in our culture, and having kids and businesses and family, your husband and kids have to come first. But when you have a partner that really takes in that pain and shares equally, not just as a wife, as a son, right? He made a lot of things possible for me, even that evening.
That's beautiful.
I want to thank him for that. And not just for the title, for being who he is.
I love that.
And he helped. It was the three of us in so many realms. My father he always wanted a son. I can't say their relationship started solid and beautiful. Most Armenian in-law relationships never start that great and healthy.
Ain't that the truth?
I would say the struggle where I would tell him, you just need to get to know my dad. It took us a bit of a time to get there, but when they were both at that journey, my father actually accepted Varesh from the moment I said I want to marry him. He trusted me and loved me enough to never question the man I chose to spend the rest of my life with. And from that moment, he said, I have a son.
That's so beautiful. And I want to note on that about that story that for listeners, family relationships are complicated, especially when an outsider comes in. A spouse is an outsider. And I love that it started off rocky because no one really knows anyone. And towards the end,
it was the most beautiful thing.
Right. Like he was in his last days and weeks, your father was with you and your spouse.
He was with, let's go back.
Yeah.
It's a lot deeper than that. I had a sister who was sick, not doing too well emotionally. The environment of our home, my parents' home, was stressful. And there wasn't anything you could do. You have to care for your family member. And because it was really intense and my father was diagnosed with his illness, he had about a year and a half.
Can you tell us what he was diagnosed with?
Lung cancer, smokers.
And they gave him 1 year.
Year and a half.
Okay.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Tell me.
You have that time to make the most out of it, but there's a time. Nobody wants to know time, right? So I had almost a year and a half ahead. I have to make things right. I have to make sure that we battle this the right way. Make every moment count with him. And at that moment, Varej, my husband, literally picked my father up from his home and removed him and brought him to our home.
Wow.
With just a shirt and shorts on.
Wow.
I remember my mom looking at the doorway and just looking and saying, you guys just took my husband from me.
He's not a UPS package. Put him back.
He belongs here. And I remember, my husband looked back and said, no, he belongs with us now.
That's beautiful.
And the same thing, almost a year and a half later, we were in the hospital. At this point, he's not doing too well, and it's almost like a hospice situation. You leave your patient in the hospital. I learned so many things. I don't want to express them all. I think some things left unsaid is better for some people going through these tragic moments in their life. But, when a patient is in the hospital, they tend to pass away quicker. And knowing that, Varej again took the papers, ripped it off, took him by his hand and brought him home. He said he's gonna take his last breath at our home with all of us around him. And that's exactly what happened.
That's so beautiful.
I had the support, Mary John. I really had the right support and the love. But at the same time, it is your journey. It's your dad, right? It's your father. And we had a very unique connection, very. And everyone was very worried about me. Like, if I lose him, how would I cope? What will become of me? Everyone always sees me strong, right? Level-headed. I got this. But my dad was a vulnerability, massive vulnerability. And my husband was worried. My mom, my friends. Are they going to lose a side of me?
Were you worried for yourself?
Let me tell you what I was doing on the other side.
Okay.
I could almost hear people thinking when they're around me, but not saying the things that they're thinking. And the worry was, are we going to still have the same Ani after she loses this huge powerhouse?
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't thinking that far to be worried. I just kind of was on this journey of making every moment count. Every moment. And so as he's going through this journey of like radiation and chemo, anything I learned, I know it sounds crazy, spider poison, something from Mexico. It's a fruit. Anything I heard that had a point something percent chance of, extending his life, I tried. I was like, Dad, you got to do this. You got to eat this. You got to drink this. And I remember him being a trooper. He was just like, he told my uncle one day, who poisons their dad every morning? 3 drops.
A loving, dedicated daughter.
She does, and I do it willingly. And,
wow.
We tried so many things, and I can't say one worked or didn't, but I'll tell you, he was on his feet. He was active. He was picking up my kids from school with me after radiation, after chemo. The quality of life that we were able to give him, and he was a trooper. He fought through it. We had a really amazing 1.5 years, and I think he was preparing me.
That is
24 hours, I was with him. 24 hours. I mean, my family, my kids, my husband, they were all supportive of that. No one stood in the way except supporting it. I woke up in the morning, first person, I run down to his room, checked his vitals. We had routines. And then I had to feed him. Dad, you got to drink this. These are your medications. Get ready. We're taking a shower. And then I would go after my kids and my husband and the family. You know how it gets in the morning before school.
You are the epitome of a dedicated father, like a dedicated daughter to a father, because all parents at end of life, this is how they're hoping to unfortunately leave, surrounded with love. And you did it. And I want to say for the listeners, you weren't like, you had businesses you were juggling, young children growing up. I mean, a lot was still happening. It didn't stop because he was passing.
No.
Nothing stopped. Everything was in motion. I remember.
2 important things I want to say. Yeah. One that I think is going to be very, very critical for the listeners, that it impacted my life. And I hope that it impacts someone else's as well. You know, I have this saying that we come to this world alone, Mary John, unless you're a twin. And we're going to go alone. There is a wisdom in that saying. When we say we're going to leave this world alone, it's those moments of sometimes most of us know through sickness that we're leaving. And you're going to leave your family behind. It is the most scary place to be. And I always wondered what my dad was feeling. And he answered that one day. I remember we were at the Glendale Adventist Hospital. We had to do like a lung biopsy. And they had to poke him. And he was afraid. He was afraid to leave. He almost felt like if he goes to the basement, he's not coming back up. And somehow I threw a tantrum and I said, I have to walk my father all the way to the room. To the test room. Somehow it happened. He's in the room getting the scan. He's getting that test done while I'm outside the room talking to him saying, Dad, I'm still here. It's safe. I got this.
Wow.
The entire time I spoke to him. The entire time, Mary John. And you're not alone. I got you.
You're not alone.
You're not alone. I'm here. So when they wheeled him out, he held my hand tight. He looked me. This was the moment, Mary, I think he gave me everything I needed to survive. He said, in the darkest moment of going where I think I'm going, I'm not alone.
That's really touching.
So he was just grateful.
And that's the feeling. You didn't leave him. You were holding his hand.
Anyway, let's not get too emotional.
Yeah, but no, that is a really beautiful story.
That connection solidified. For me, that was the ultimate connection.
Yes.
The darkness, you're going somewhere, you don't even know where you're going. We all have a belief system, right? And we hope it's heaven. But it's happening and it's like in front of you, this person, this hero of yours. And he's holding your hand and I felt his fear. I felt his vulnerability. And he said, thank you for not leaving me alone. I don't feel alone. And that was it. And then after that, 1.5 years into it, we literally, even took a trip to Austria. It was so funny. It was like a Persian doctor. It was a hoax, obviously.
With him? With him?
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay, let's laugh. We cried. Now we got to laugh. What's this hoax with the
Oh
Persian
my
doctor?
God.
Did he eat like an elephant
So
tusk or
you
something?
have to go to, so in Austria, outskirts of Vienna.
Sounds beautiful.
Yes, in a village. They dug a hole. It's aluminum. I don't know. They had some creative name for it. And you go in there.
You go in the hole.
You lay down. They put a bed. And then somehow the earthly, whatever that is.
Okay.
I didn't want to look into it because the more when you're sophisticated, educated, and you hear something like that, you're like, it was more of a trip for my father and I.
Yeah.
I looked at it as a bonding session instead of a healing session.
Right. And in those moments, I want to say, doesn't matter how educated you are, when you are clinging on for dear life,
Desperation was.
I would have gone.
Like
we're
I
willing
said,
to try anything.
I tried everything and anything.
Wait.
From the moment I was dropping a little bit of like vampire or snake, whatever.
I believe
I don't
you
even
because
remember.
You're also a go-getter. You are such a go-getter. Wait, okay. I need to laugh a little bit in this story. So you guys all fly to Vienna with him.
It's myself, my auntie, and my father, the three of us, his sister, basically.
Okay. And does he know what's going to happen? Or are you guys just telling him, listen, we're just trying something very unorthodox. Let's see when we get there.
He had this character about him, like, let's go, Ani John. Let's do this too. You want to go? Let's go. And again, I want to bring up Vrej in this situation because it was such expensive,
I'm sure,
journey. And again, Vrej is like,
he's a rock.
Just go. Don't hesitate. Don't think about it. We had an amazing 2 weeks in Austria. I actually took my father. I drove him to like Salzburg. We went close to the Germany line. And I'm like, you want to go to another country? It
sounds like a bonding trip.
We did a lot of amazing things together. And I remember when I went there, his cancer on his, it had spread. Now it's stage 4, right? So his leg is hurting and he's such a young hipster, like a good looking grandpa, right? And he had so much pride. But at that time, I could see him starting to limp. And I went like a crazy person. I got him a wheelchair. I'm in a different country, right? I have a wheelchair for him. I rent us an SUV so we can put his wheelchair in there.
Oh, wow.
Then I had a motor car.
It's a motor car.
It's a motor wheelchair where you could take people that cannot walk or have injuries. It's like a little like electrical.
Wow.
So that way I could take him to the museums and the streets of Vienna, and I don't have to wheel him in.
Oh my goodness.
Anything that I felt like would accommodate us, we rented, bought.
You did it.
And my father was like, Ani John, enough. Let's just enjoy. And another interesting part of that journey, I met someone beautiful as well. Her name is Lori. And we became almost like soul sisters. She had a sick father as well. And she has still that bond. He's ill and his body's shutting down. I think it's called MS.
But you met her when you guys were both pursuing this Persian doctor.
Yes, they would go before us and we were after. Our sessions were very close.
And is this so it's not you fly out there. It's not a 1-day thing.
It's a 2-week almost like a treatment.
Every day
for an hour. Per
Painful?
Patient.
Is it just
quick, they just lay there and it's dark and gloomy. And I'm thinking to myself, now that I think back, like, why would I expose my father?
I know.
Take him underground in the dark place.
We could laugh, but I was thinking, sounds like they dug a funeral coffin.
That is so horrible. Now that I think, but he was such a trooper.
Can I say, like, okay, now that we have space
maybe I
and
prepared
distance,
him.
Maybe like that little setup got you guys to go on a little family trip and to laugh and to be together.
It was the best trip, Mary John. And another, my father was such a well-read human that he knew, but he never allowed himself to have that conversation with me ever. And I remember he was very close to both of my children. They were his heir, not just like a grandfather. It's almost like he was their father.
Yeah.
Like the ownership that he took. And at the end, I remember we had a priest come over. We did, we call it matach, right, in Armenian. And blessed the food and his health. And I remember he looked at Varej and I. We had a long table with 30 guests. And he said, I think I'm ready to leave the kids with you guys. I trust you both enough.
He actually said that?
He said that.
At the dinner table?
Yes.
Did that knock the wind out of you in the moment? Were you shocked that he said it?
He was always trying to figure out if we'll be able to manage the kids and our lives and our, Varej and I also had so many trauma in our lives and so many difficult moments, right? As a couple, as individuals, my father was very in tune with that. And he knew by him not being around, it was a lot of weight on us, a lot of weight with the kids. Because he covered, like being that hands-on grandfather,
like the third parent.
Before school, after school,
So
teaching
beautiful.
them music, playing with Legos with Seb, building things, taking him to the park, speaking with Elizabeth about music and art. He filled so much of that time that these kids gave them quality. And I know he was worried because he knew a lot better than Varej and I what was to come. I think he knew that because of his age and wisdom.
But it sounds like in the end, he was ready to go and he was asking you to be ready to release him.
Yes. And unfortunately and fortunately, you get to a point, Mary John, I hope not everyone experiences where you ask for him to be released and for him to have that last breath and not be in pain.
Yes.
When your loved one is healthy, physically, emotionally, you want them near you forever. But when they deteriorate literally in front of you and become someone else, just the skeleton of who they were, and you see the pain, you feel the pain, it gets to a point that I never thought I would get to a point that I can ask God to take, to release, to give him that peace. And I did. I got to a point where I asked for that. I was in the shower, I remember, and loud, I cried and I said, I'm ready. Please stop this pain.
Wow.
This agony for him. Let him go. I'm okay. I'm going to let him go. And 24 hours later, he passed away in our home.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I have goosebumps again. Ani John, thank you for being willing to share this story about your father. I know it's not something easy to talk about.
I tend not to talk about it. I keep, a lot of people talk about it to feel better. I tend to, I keep some of the pain to myself. I'm selfish like that.
No.
And, I looking back again, one more message I want to give to you and everyone else is you don't have to be strong and invincible at that time. You don't have to pretend to be, I'm okay. Because the fact that I felt okay and I did the best I could for my dad and I was ready to let him go, I think it didn't allow my kids to mourn and to be emotional and loud about it. And it cost them a lot. Because a lot of the times kids kind of, they're like your magnet. They take your energy, right? They feel you. And my kids were feeding off of me. What they were feeding off of me to be strong. You don't need to cry.
Which is very common in our culture.
I rarely get emotional. I got emotional, which is amazing because if my friends see this, they're going to say, Mary, you must be special.
Well, yes, I am special, but I also want to say, this might sound hocus pocus, but I don't care. I'm going to say it because I believe in spirit, and I think his energy is here in this room. I'm just saying that. We didn't plan for the listeners. This is freaking unscripted. I don't send any questions. We do not talk about it. I gave her the address.
Yes.
I said, please show up. I'm very grateful that my powerhouse friend who has 9 million appointments a day showed up. And really, like, you know that. And I haven't even met your father. So like this just so natural. But I do think his spirit is somewhere in
Thank
this
you.
podcast room. Maybe he's nibbling on that cake. I don't know. I'm just saying.
My daughter Elizabeth, who's outside, called me Mary John. This is so surreal. Just called me, and she's very strong. And she doesn't show her emotions. And I'm trying to work on that. And I'm like, don't end up like me. In the 40s, I've matured. I would do things differently. It's okay to cry. Let's cry together.
It's okay. I'm gonna do a session where I interview her. If I'm lucky, I'm gonna make her cry.
It's an intervention session of emotions. Yes.
A crying intervention.
I think it's good to show emotion and to show a little bit of vulnerability. And she said, I went and saw both grandpas in the cemetery on the way here. And she's like, I usually don't cry, Mom, you know me, but I cried and I spoke to both of them.
This happened today?
Yes, just an hour ago.
How crazy. We're talking about this and she went.
And she said, I spoke with both grandparents. She never met Varej's dad, but she spoke to him today.
Oh.
And she spoke to my father, and they're very close, distant wise.
I love
at the
that,
cemetery.
though.
And she said, I walked over and I spoke with Grandpa, my father, and Mom, he's with us in spirit today. And he's so proud.
She said that today.
Him. Yes.
And here we are.
I'm telling you, please ask her.
I
Yes.
am going to ask. Oh my God, I love this. I love this. I know it was kind of sad, but there's beauty even in dark moments.
Yes.
And while you were talking, I couldn't help but hear you said you're in your 40s, even though you look like you're in your 20s. I know everyone who's watching us, like live video footage is going to be shocked. For the listeners, Ani is gorgeous, head to toe.
Thank you, and Mary John, you too.
Thank you, my love. I will receive that compliment, and I want you to receive mine.
Thank you.
Because I mean it.
I feel it. Thank you.
I mean it. My question about the ages. I loved my 30s more than my 20s, and I feel like that just keeps happening every decade. But I don't know. I want to ask you, have your 40s been better than your 30s as a woman in terms of getting into your own skin? And like, tell me a little bit about that. How has it been, or how has it been different? Maybe it's been different in an unexpected way.
I have to say, COVID has changed a lot for all of us. I've changed. I don't know if it's my 40s or if it's everything that has happened the last couple of years. What I feel today is sometimes I look at myself in the mirror. I'm like, those wrinkles need to go. But sometimes I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, I aged gracefully. Thank you. You did a good job. So it all depends on the day.
I love that.
In your 40s, it's inconsistent. My friends can come and say, I feel good. No way. There are days that you don't. Your age or your energy. I feel it every 10 years. In my 30s, it was different. In my 40s are different. God knows how I'm going to feel in my 50s. But I'll tell you this, 40s is one of the best times because you have wisdom, you have matured, you're empowered.
Yes.
And you're so much smarter
than
before. And you still have time to embark on whatever journey your heart desires.
Woohoo! I love that.
So you actually have the time to reinvent and continue building. It doesn't necessarily have to be destructive. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. You could still be a powerhouse of a family member, a daughter, a wife, a mother. But you know what? It's not always full time now. The kids are a lot older, independent. Guess what? No more excuses. Husband, older, more mature, consumed with their lives.
Right.
So it's no longer like that puppy, let's get attached 24/7 together. They're going on their own journeys as well.
Yeah.
And now you have this little pocket of you.
I love that. Pocket of you.
Pocket of you, and you better make it count and do not find excuses. I know excuses at 20s and 30s are great, Mary John. That's why I'm so proud of you, because what you're doing is you're embarking on that journey, not waiting to be 40, because at your 40, you're going to give everybody better advice.
Oh, you're so sweet.
So I would say between 30s and mid 40s, late 40s, that's the time for a lot of us to really start thinking about the next phase, because the first one is family. It's marriage, it's kids, and it's chaotic and it's beautiful. But you're learning. You're also learning about yourself.
Right.
You survive that. What happens? You embark on your own journey. And now you allow everybody else to surround you, your kids, your husband, your family, and friends. And now it's their turn to support you.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. It's my time, kids.
And I'm here to support you.
Yes.
That's exactly where I would want most of us to see ourselves. No guilt, no tying ourselves down, and no more excuses for ourselves.
You're right. And thank you for saying that. And I want to bring up something else. You've given me so much good advice. And one of the many that you gave me was don't get comfortable, because a lot of us, we are blessed and we have the means and the resources for on a day-to-day basis to do things that we want. However, just because the resources are there doesn't mean that it's in your best interest to not do anything, to get comfortable. And that's why I love what you said about reinventing yourself, because it's not easy to reinvent yourself. It's not comfortable.
Who gets comfortable, Mary? Let's talk about that. Let's get real.
I don't know.
Women that end up with a very brilliant, empowering men. Successful, driven, family-oriented providers. And almost their success seems like your success. Is that true, really?
True. I can't say it's false.
Their success is a collaborative success, because now you are they're the pillar. Now you are the foundation, right? You have to make sure it keeps standing, because now you have the kids, you have the home, you have businesses. You do a lot. I can't say that you are not the partner. But ask yourself, truly someone else's success or journey, is it really yours?
What a good question.
Is it really yours? Do you own it? And how much of it is yours?
Pause. And I love it. Is it truly yours? And that is, I know you're asking that on a very deep level.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like on paper, it could be yours, 50%, but you're not asking that. Is it yours right here? Right here.
How did you embark on that journey? Was it the marriage? Was it because you have an empowering partner and they lead? And as much as we want to say as strong women, we don't follow, I think I took a side seat with my husband. Some women take back seats. I was right there making decisions, helping him behind the scene, even at work. But the truth of that matter is, as the kids grow up and your excuses die out, right? You have to really reflect on yourself and say, okay, I went through school. I'm highly educated, right?
Highly well-rounded.
Yes, because a lot of empowering women have to meet their match. So that means without knowing your background, just sensing you, I can already see and tell you that your husband has to be brilliant. Because an average Joe is not going to manage you and you're not going to be comfortable. So having said that, my other question to any of my friends is, I get it. You're doing really, really amazing on the outside. You got all these check boxes, great family, house, children, good-looking husband, brilliant.
Cars are lined up. Everything's good to go.
My question as a woman to you is going to be, is this your journey? Your personal pocket of Mary, where is that? Did you leave it behind? Is it cooking? Is it going to come on in a year, 10 years, 5 years? Or you're just going to let it go and just get comfortable? So,
I'm going to take in all that genius that you just poured all over me. So fucking good. I'm sorry I'm cursing because
I love
Elizabeth is in the tech room with our engineers listening.
that's
But-
okay. We're getting
but
real, sweetheart.
We're getting real. And oh my God, that is so good. And you know, it's part of the journey is getting lost in it. I know
It's
I
beautiful.
have.
It's beautiful.
It's
There are no
me-
regrets.
no regrets.
Let's make sure that all this wisdom, advice, some of it are my personal. Obviously, this is all coming from me. It's my personal experiences, opinion.
Right.
So it's all really, it's biased almost. But I would have to say, one thing that I'm happy about is at this age, I do feel being graceful. I'm empowered. I feel loved. I feel the support. But then I also feel like there's a pocket of Ani that I've neglected a little bit. And I'm blessed that it doesn't have to get to a critical point where it comes with pain and sorrow. It should naturally occur. I think most of us in our 40s start seeking, right? Like most of our friends start talking, almost it sounds nonsense, right? I don't know if I'm happy. I'm bored. I don't know what to do with myself. All these conversations start changing, right? It doesn't happen in your 30s. It's all about vacations and family trips.
Right, like raising little babies.
Oh my
and doing
God,
this and
we're
that.
doing play dates and my hubby this barbecue in the backyard. And then sometimes in the 40s, closer to even 50s, that's where we call it midlife crisis. And for me, I don't call it midlife crisis. I want to look at this as an opportunity to really reflect. Right? You're reflecting, you're mid-aged, you still have this opportunity. Absolutely. It's not like you're in your 70s. Do something about it. If you are one of those people that's seeking and is not content, it's not really because you're not content with the people around you. I think we got to dig deeper. It might be us.
Oh,
it's so much easier to blame others than yourself, right?
You're so right.
Take ownership of your life, of your womanhood. You have made children in this world. You have created a family. You have a household. You've been in businesses. Let me go back. You educated yourself. You were so appealing to and empowering humans, right? Maybe you even had businesses before. Go back. Figure out in your 40s who you are now. And embark on the journey that's going to feed your soul, make you really happy as Ani and Mary, and then allow your family, your loved ones to really see that version of you. Because we do change, we do evolve. As much as we want to say no, I do see the change. I used to fight it and say, no, I'm the same person. The truth is no. A lot of my experiences shaped me, forced me to get out of my comfort zone.
But you took the opportunity and it happened. I want to ask you a question. You talked about embarking on new journeys. You have been in the business world for a very long time. You and your husband are co-partners in so many ways. And one of them is you guys run a restaurant empire. That's what I'm going to call it. A restaurant empire among a lot of other things. Forgive me if I don't have the long list because it's only 45 pages. And we're on the clock here, girlfriend. If I had to go through your accomplishment, yours and Vareja's accomplishments, girl, we'd be here all day. So, I mean, you guys are running an empire as co-partners. But you said a word, embarking on a new journey.
Yes.
So tell me, what new journey or journeys are you embarking on or going to? Can you give us a little glimpse?
Yes.
Thank you.
Without giving too much, unfortunately, but I do promise when this journey gets to that level.
You're coming back here, right?
We're talking about this
and
full force.
You're spilling the beans.
Yes.
Okay.
The journey that I'm embarking on, it's something that in my soul, in my gut, and that I want to go back to us, right?
Yes,
As
yes.
women. I always knew I had this desire. I have this patriotic desire to our homeland that I was born with,
Which is?
Armenia.
Okay.
I also knew that naturally I gravitate to people every kind.
Mm-hmm.
I have tolerance, I have this wisdom, and I love socializing, and I can take days and hours and we can just sit here, talk about everything.
And you have a lot of compassion for people.
Thank you. And so all those things have always been part of me.
Yes.
And going into the hospitality industry with my husband, I was lucky enough to be in that industry because it was feeding my soul. The relationship with the clients, the community, it was just amazing.
It's very social, right?
Very. And we turned that into giving back as well to our communities.
And share the company name for listeners.
Anoush.
Yes.
Anoush, Catering and LA Banquets. And what we did is we took a mom and pop operation and we turned it into a leading brand in the hospitality industry today. And it's still going to keep going and we're going to grow. And the point of that is, you know, you could be a successful business, Mary John, but if you're just taking and not giving back, doesn't really say much. And because Vraj's father, Keshishyan, was such a charitable human and a savvy businessman, he set the standards and the foundation before he passed away. And, you know, the community love and respect was embedded into Anoush from the get-go.
Wow.
All we did is we kind of amplified it. We've continued, and with our support back to our communities, back to our homeland, now it's become a brand, Armenian brand that you could be proud of.
Absolutely.
And as I matured in that industry and home and with all of us, I realized I'm still like, I want to do more. I want to reach. I could reach more.
Right.
I just didn't understand what that is. And the journey we're embarking on, and I have a support of brilliance, is potentially going to change the nation, Armenia, if it gets to its critical mass. And what I envision and what the mission and the vision, it's amazing. And as we embark on that journey and we're able to make this a reality, I promise you I'm going to come back.
Okay.
And we'll discuss it. And if we can honestly, I always say this, if I could be like a little dot, a seed into that journey, I've already done my part as an Armenian woman, as a woman, and as a human being on this earth.
Yes.
I'm serving my purpose, right?
Yes.
It's rejuvenating my personal soul. And the most important part of this journey is that now it's in line with who I am and what I want to leave behind.
Oh, wow. And I know so Ani has signed a bunch of NDAs. This is a huge project. It's under wraps, in process, in production, right? So because of all the legalities, we're going to save this juiciness for part 2. But I just want to say that the fact that you really have so much going on and you are still engaging in this humanitarian, I'm going to call it a humanitarian project that will help a nation in many, many ways on many platforms is awesome. Can't wait to hear about it. I lost my train of thought because there are so many questions I want to ask you. But as we kind of get into the last segment of our podcast show, I want to dive into what it means to be a strong woman. You mentioned womanhood, Armenian womanhood. There's a lot of power in that moment. And in my introduction, I said you lived many lives because you really freaking have. You've lived a lot of lives. You've overcome a lot of obstacles. And there's nothing scarier than most parents for their child to be in a medical situation where they're in danger. Like that is literally every mom's worst nightmare.
Yes.
And it is a nightmare that you lived. Thankfully now, today, right before our podcast, Ani's beautiful daughter Elizabeth was with us to wish us good luck, kiss us, and bless us with her beautiful heart. So it's a little, I think, easier maybe to bring it up now than I would have a year ago.
Of course.
But for the listeners, if I may just give a one-liner, you know, Ani and Viraj had to go through a day where they got a call, and unfortunately, their daughter, a teenager at the time, unfortunately with some other teenagers, was in a car, and the car flew off the Angeles Crest Highway. Literally flew off, like off the edge of a cliff. And a lot of us saw it on the news. And I'll tell you my experience, and then I'll throw a question at you. I remember watching it on the news with my husband. And in that moment, and I'm in the luxury of my home with my 3 babies sleeping upstairs, and my knees buckled and my stomach, my GI system just went into shambles, to TMI. And all I could say to myself and to my husband is, I don't even know how Ani and Viraj are like standing up. Just forget it. Like put your foot up, like they're not limp noodles laying on the floor. And in the video footage, you could actually see your husband following the stretchers with a helicopter. So what I'm describing is even an understatement of what actually happened. Now let's fast forward. After multiple surgeries, a very long medical journey, this beautiful young girl is kicking butt, doing great. Question about how it was for you as a mother and how you put one foot in front of the other. There are moms that are going through crisis.
Yes.
Not necessarily a car accident. I have 2 friends whose kids, young kids under 15 are in chemo. It's a medical crisis, right? Okay. Advice for those moms who are in it.
Yes.
How did you put one foot in front of the other?
So I feel like we have 2 sides to us as humans, the logic and the emotion, where the heart is. A lot of times when we're in a good mindset and strong physically, logic plays a huge role, right? Your brain tells you it's right, you go with it. A lot of times, logic never reaches your heart. And that's the imbalance act. That is when crises occur. Trauma hits, logic is out the door. For me, it was my heart. It was in pain. I could not tell my brain, rewire yourself, regroup. What's next? My heart was skipping a beat. And my brain, I remember the only thing that I thought of was prayers. Mary John, I called my mom. Thank God I had reception. And I said, Mom, everyone in Armenia, because it was morning over there.
Wait, your mom is in Armenia?
No, my mom's here, but I knew Armenia, it's morning time, LA. LA was night. The accident happened at night.
In
11.
LA?
Yes. It was 11:15 p.m. And when I called, it was almost midnight. And I usually try to stay away from trauma and things like that with calls, especially to my mom because she's such an emotional being. But I had to call her. I called her and I said, Mom, she's a believer. She's a born-again Christian. That's the only thing that keeps her sane and happy and healthy. But she's very into it. Like that's all she talks about. God bless her. I called her. I said, Mom, I need you to call all your Hokevor sisters.
Define Hokevor in English. Like believer sisters?
Hokevor, I would say the church sisters, the spiritual sisters, right? And everyone in Armenia. We have a very big family in Armenia. And I believe in one thing. Prayers going at the same time reaches faster. I said, all I need is prayers. That's it. And I hung up. And all I did was pray, Mary, because it gets to a point that you're not invincible. We all feel like we got this, we can handle it. I'm strong enough. My mind can do this. I can financially do this. There's so many things that we tell ourselves, but when it comes to that point, the only thing that could save you from you is the spiritual belief system, because it's the only thing that part of your heart, that side that is your soul, your emotions, is your heart. Logic doesn't reach there at that point. It's not healing it. It's not making sense. It's God. It's wisdom of spiritual world, whatever that is, that spiritual world that you could surrender to and say, please, I can no longer save or do. I beg you.
Like, help me.
Help me. And whatever that help is, you get your answers. And all you have to do is really believe in that spiritual realm, because that is the only thing I think keeps you sane. And then slowly you come back to reality and logic takes over, which is great because now you're balanced.
That's beautiful.
That imbalance is the scariest place to be. And I felt it. I felt where all my logic and like, okay, Ani, get it together. Take a deep breath. You know, you talk to yourself. There is a voice inside of you. That voice was cluttery. I couldn't hear it.
It was like a panic voice, like
I couldn't breathe. My body was shutting down. My breathing was heavy. And all I'm thinking is, if I shut down, who's going to take care of my child? My child needs me. But you know, it's an emotional place where you are. It's not a logical place. So I hope that most people are able to balance those two things: the emotional realm, the spiritual place where you find your peace, right? And then your intellectual, logical place where it balances your act.
Right.
And if they're imbalanced, and if you just have one or the other, life can get tough, complicated, and you can get in trouble.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I think slowly helped me get back to reality.
Well
Those
said.
two worlds.
Well said. And, you know, going back to the driving thing, most parents are so freaked out when their kids get their driver's license. I know my parents were. So after something like this happens, do you find, and you can't stop living, you can't ask your kids not to drive. I mean, right? You have to keep moving and grooving. So have you dispelled the anxiety within you to say, okay?
There are triggers, Marie-John. I can't say those things pass. And I hope that the family members that are listening that have been the cause of that stressors, whether it's kids or adults, take ownership of that and help the people that have gone through the trauma with them to navigate this better. For example, I'm blessed with my daughter that she's still a teenager. She still does her thing. They're very smart. Okay. And they could get away with so much more. But at least one thing that she has realized is that being on top of that cliff and not knowing what's happening with my child is basically, I was in hell. Yeah. Right. And the fact that I'm still here and I have my sanity, it's a blessing. And she does very well with making sure that she answers my calls. And, you know, her location, I have it.
Right.
And she doesn't need to share it with anyone. Right. The only reason she shares it with me because she knows it gives me that peace. Right. Like if an emergency occurs, at least I know where she is.
Absolutely.
And I love her for that because I think that's a level of maturity where she looks at her mom. Okay, I'm strong, right? But I'm still a mom. I get worried.
Yeah.
And she gives me that piece of happiness by sharing her location. And I think for the rest of her life.
Well, yes.
She'll share her location because it just, and I don't even check before, you know, there comes an age, Marie-John, you are checking for those purposes. Right now, it's not even about that. Yeah. It just gives me comfort.
Because you guys went through something that was big. And I love that because there's an intimacy between you and her. You both came out of this. You both came out of it alive. And you're both females and there is that bond so strong. And I just want to say, this could happen to anybody. I remember getting my first car at 15. 15, geez Louise. And my brother was 14 or 13 and a half. So my parents allowed me to drive us to school. So happy. And one of my mom's friends saw me on the freeway. I was going 90 miles per hour. In my brain at that time, I thought it was fun to hit the accelerator. And this woman called my mom, said, Mary's car was literally flying off the freeway. And again, so my point is, it can happen to anybody. That's just my experience, but that's why a lot of us moms think, wow, geez, like that's scary. We all have these thoughts. It's part of a kid getting their driver's license or being a passenger or sitting in the back seat. Doesn't matter. So
I want to thank the
Prayers.
community for that as well. I want to especially thank our community. There was like no judgment. I received so many calls and texts. And let me tell you another thing that occurred that is out of my character was I answered every text,
Wow.
every call, and I thanked them. And I said, Ani John, in the hospital, actually, Huntington Hospital had to change their rules because of the amount of traffic that was going through. They put restrictions.
By the way, I can't believe that you survived that. Okay, there was an accident you survived. Then you survived the Armenian community showing up, because as loving as the Armenian community is, and I was one of those people that I was like, I'm going to go. I don't care what's happening. I'm showing up to Huntington with Sergey. But geez, it was packed.
Yes.
And I kept thinking, these two parents who have just been through hell and they're not even back from hell yet, they have to greet all these people.
No, I want to thank every one of you for being there.
You're nice, but
And
that's hard.
I'll tell you, Mary John, that's one more message I want to send out. A lot of times, I don't know if it's pride instilled in us as Armenians, privacy. Don't let anybody know or feel what you're feeling.
Yeah.
Because everybody's out there. I don't know.
They'll talk. Yeah.
Yes. This was one time I let my guard down. I let it down and I was real. And every single human that approached me, texted me, gave me a hug, got emotional. That one tear I shared with you, with my friends, with everyone in the community made me feel so loved and not alone. And it gave me the wings and the strength to go on. Honestly, I want to thank you and every single human that texted us, that was there for us, and prayed. People would go to church, pray, and send me text of the candles for Elizabeth. Every prayer I felt, every kindness I felt, and it helped me heal. And I always wonder if I kept my private self the way I am most of the time, I would have missed out on all the love. So I wouldn't recommend that for anyone.
Wow, that's so much awareness.
I would not recommend it, Mary John. And I'm telling you, I'm the queen of you don't penetrate into my space unless I invite you in.
Actually, I know that. And I feel like that's not the side of you I know.
Yes.
But I can't imagine, because you have an aura. You're a boss queen. You walk into a room and you have a gate and you have, you're like, you know where you're looking. And I could see how an outsider, luckily not me, an outsider could look at you and be intimidated and say, oh man, like this woman doesn't want to talk to me. So yes, you were very receptive and I was blown away by that. And I want to mention the community showed up for you because you showed up for the community for decades.
Thank you.
And now with the humanitarian project that's under wraps, I mean, that doesn't happen just because something is aired on TV as a tragedy. That was because you and your life partner and spouse show up for the community like no other. So
thank you,
I want to
Mary
put
John.
that
it
out
means
there.
a lot. Again, it's a blessing to be able to be in a community where it's hospitality and you're able to not only be hospitable and invite everybody into your home, which are your venues, but share food, right? Food and drinks. I'm a foodie. I love what we do. And
you're a skinny foodie. God. This woman
we're having lunch
has a
after,
size
by the
0
way.
waist, just for the listeners. But she does eat. I don't know where it goes.
Let me tell you, if you ask me to walk with you, you have to also give me where we're walking, if there's an ideal restaurant or a cafe for a little stop.
Yes.
And then we can walk back to another state if you want. But I need my stops with my little cafes and restaurants. I feel, Mary John, life is too short. The message I want to send out is life is too short. We got to make each moment, every moment count. And I don't mean count by counting our blessings and finance and the people in our lives. Really, every moment that we're here, really make it count. It's okay to be sad one day. You have to know you're going to be happy again, right?
Oh, so
It's
beautiful.
okay to, have financial issues because let me tell you, you're going to figure it out. It's not the end of the world. The most important thing is health and love. If you could keep your health and you're able to love with your heart, right? Put your heart on your sleeve. It's okay. People think that they get hurt more by doing that. No, we empower ourselves by doing that.
Yes.
Right?
Amen.
So I love you.
Oh, I love you too.
Okay, there's a lot of love here. And I want to see you healthy. This smile, this glow, this powerful woman that's sitting in front of me today. The sky's the limit for you. And I'm so proud that you're not in your 40s and yet you're like, you have a blueprint now. You have the blueprint to make anything happen for yourself and for your family. So I'm very, very happy for you.
Thank you, my friend. On that note, I want to say that's because of the people I surround myself with, including you. I read a quote once, you can't do what you don't see. And so surrounding a big part of this podcast coming to life and to fruition has been, and I honestly mean this, being around women like you who are not settling for less. And I'm not talking financially. They're not settling spiritually. Their inner landscape is rich, is plentiful, and they're willing to give to others. And you have been that for me.
Thank you. You too, by the way.
And thank you, my love. And I know we're running short on time, but I'm gonna mention a story. You're gonna be totally caught off guard because this is some story you shared 10 years ago when we met. And it's been a moral compass for me. And I'm going to leave listeners with that story.
No way.
Hopefully you remember too, because I think you're the one who told me the story. It's about following your own moral compass. Very simple. Do I want to go here? Yes or no. That voice is inside. Do I want to do this? Yes or no. So we met for lunch one day. I asked you, how was your weekend? You said something very interesting happened. And you're very much enmeshed in the community. So you're getting invited everywhere up the wahoo. So you said, I had this event. I went, I had all these appointments pre-planned. I got dressed. I got a dress fitting. I went and got my hair done. I got makeup done. I sat in a chair for 3 hours. I came home and I realized I don't really want to go. I want to be home. I just want to sit in my comfortable pants, my comfortable sweater and relax. And I said, what did you do next? You said, with my clothes on, with my big hair doing my makeup, I walked into the shower and I stood under the hot water.
Yes, that was me.
With clothes on, with heels on.
I did.
Are you surprised I remember this?
Yes.
Oh my God. And you don't even know, like sometimes as friends, we share random funny stories. We're sharing it for laughter. But man, for 10 years, my friend, that has given me the power to say no to things that don't speak to my soul.
So proud of you.
Thank you for helping me build my moral compass. Thank you for sharing your highs and really difficult lows with listeners today. I love you so much.
I love you. Thank you, everyone. I'm hoping that, again, to be back.
Yes.
With good news.
100%.
And then I can't wait for, you're going to be a celebrity soon.
I
need your autograph right after.
Okay, take off the dress. I'm going to sign your body somewhere. I get to pick the body part. And the engineer tech is going to turn off the footage right now. Thank you, everybody. See you on the next one. Dear listeners, if you like what you heard, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, and follow me on my journey on Instagram and YouTube. Until next time.